Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. You have reached the Bama Standard post-game show right after probably one of the worst showings I've ever seen to open an Alabama football season. I'm not going to announce the score because we don't really need to. We know what happened. So what are we going to do now? We're going to talk about it, try to figure out what went wrong. We may need more than just an hour to do it, but we'll figure things out. I'm your host, Justin Riley. With me today is a great panel. I got a former Alabama offensive lineman we probably could use the services of today, Griff Redmill. And next to him, we got the illustrious Daniel Pettey, who is never going to mind his tongue. And, of course, for this show, we might need a little bit of that. And then just above him is Johnathan Lewis. Fellas, welcome in. Not exactly what we expected. How's everyone doing other than what we just saw on TV?
You're not.
I've been better. Glad to be here, though.
Long live stream.
Man. Got my crow on the grill cooking for all the shit I talked about. How bad I thought this team was going to be. Good, I thought this team was going to be.
Well, hey, that's a great way to jump things off. The shit talking, as Pettey wonderfully put it. Thomas Castellanos talked a lot of it during the off season, and what do? We said, well, that's going to be addressed on the field. It was addressed on the field, but we just took another slap in the face and another ass beating, and he proved himself to be right. And here we are. I feel like we're having deja vu of both Vanderbilt and Oklahoma all over again. The team looked like they were unprepared. They looked like they just learned how to football. The defense didn't get off the plane until late, maybe, and then they went back on the plane, I think. Just undisciplined, looked unmotivated at times. Definitely not Bama ball. All the preseason hype was greatly dashed right before our eyes. First drive looked amazing. I thought, you know what, we're about to have a great day. We're going to enjoy ourselves. This offense is as advertised. Little did we know, gentlemen, that's where it all stopped. So I've said enough. Let's talk about our instant reactions. I'll let our guests go first. Griff, your instant reaction. Where do we start, man? What are your thoughts? What did you see?
Well, I tell you, certainly not how I thought it was going to go, guys. I mean, kind of with you, I rarely ever talk noise to anybody, but I talked some smack before this game because I really thought that we were going to show up and make a statement. I'd been to the scrimmages the last few weeks, and I thought, man, I think we've got our stuff together, and I think we're going to make a statement against FSU. And we came out in the first drive, and, I was impressed with our intensity, our aggressiveness. I mean, everybody's worried about the run game. Jam Miller gone, and I was glad to see Richard Young get the nod because he's a guy I've been a fan of the last couple of years, and he just gets a handful of carries here and there. And man, he was running hard, and then Hill comes in, and we had the thing rolling, and then we kicked the extra point. FSU gets the ball, and not only did they match our intensity, they went up on the intensity level. I mean, those guys were hungry today, and they went up to us on the matching the intensity level and kept it going throughout the game, man. And everything we thought we were about to see from that first drive quickly fizzled. And Ty, first game as a starter. I've seen him play in the last two scrimmages they've had, and was really impressed with the way he carried himself, the way he ran the offense, the way the guys respond to him. But as the game wore on and FSU started to affect him, I think you saw some of those things that everybody was concerned about with a new quarterback this year, or even with the quarterback we had last year. The potentially negative type situations that you can avoid, and all of a sudden you start, as the game wears on, you get a 2-score lead on you, and you got a young man trying to make a play, and it puts you in a situation to, third and long. How many third and longs did we have? I felt like we were in third and long the entire game, and we just got behind the sticks too much, and we had to abandon the running game. That I thought if we could have got a few more stops, we could have kept hammering it with Young, and it would probably be a different outcome. But you let somebody get up on you like that in an environment like that. Let's not discount Doak Campbell Stadium. It's a tough place to play, especially a group of people that's that hungry to be back on top, and the crowd was was a factor, and we let them in it way too early.
Very well said, Pettey. Pick it up from there, and then Johnathan will go after you.
Well, I already see it in the chat. Like, man, I miss Milrow. I miss that. It's real simple to blame Ty, but that's what simple fans do, is blame one guy, because apparently they didn't watch the damn game. They didn't watch the offensive tackles get murdered all day. I mean, like you said, we talked about it. The opening drive, the offensive line set the tone and dominated. And I'm texting everybody, boy, this is the offensive line we were hearing about all offseason. And they took over the game. The play calling was a great mix. Ty looked poised, but then Ty started getting hit. Then he looked shook. And again, y'all, I miss this. No, what we miss is Bryce Young and Tua and guys like that. And also some guys on the outside like Mechie and super freaks that could actually catch the ball. Look, Williams had, 3-4 drops today? It was all over. It was a team effort in that loss. It wasn't on one guy. I thought the offensive line after the opening drive looked dismal. We had 55 yards rushing on the opening drive, and I think somewhere midway through the fourth quarter we had like 5 yards rushing from that point on. I mean, that's just – and I don't even want to get on the Charmin softness of the defense. That defensive front we hear all year finally going to step up. We've got guys that are supposed to be in contract years. And, look, I'm not going to play anymore. I questioned myself before the year. I've always prided myself on the fact that I'm an objective. I'm an Alabama grad, but, I've got my other ties or whatever. So I've always been objective about Alabama while also giving reverence to what Alabama is and the greatness. But I've always called a spade. And I felt like here lately, because of my connections, maybe I hadn't done that as much and started to drink the Kool-Aid a little bit. And I feel like I have, and I ain't doing that anymore. Look, until this team shows up on the field, there's a lot of guys that have got some crap to prove, and a lot of it's on that defensive front seven that just got mauled today. So, look, man, the offense was playing catch-up in nasty conditions where your quarterback's on his heels, guys not making plays, and a run game that's obsolete, and a secondary that's supposed to be just one of the best just getting torched. And, again, I don't know what it is. It's like every program has some kind of Achilles heel, and Alabama's is always going to be a mobile quarterback. And I guess that's the deal. Castellanos once again showed today that if a mobile quarterback and a good game plan, and gosh bless Gus Malzahn. I mean, you want to talk about giving flowers. That dude knows how to give us damn hell, and he kept us on our heels all day today. So, again, it wasn't – people are going to like to point one finger. Well, you better get all your fingers out. There's a lot of them to point today at what went on that field.
I don't think Gus Malzahn really dipped into his bag. Let's be real.
I mean,
all he did was call a simple offense.
He's got a little misdirection-y at times, but no, I mean, he let his quarterback kind of get on his heels and play. It was just, look, man, I hate to say it. I don't know if they realize what's coming, and this is what everybody says. And I'm saying it now, but, man, you better start putting on that field, because coaching at Alabama is different, and it's always been different. Now it's really freaking different after the last decade. And performances like that, I mean, fan bases are going to get hot quick. And that was lackluster. And the thing is, and I'm going to finish it on this, it's not just that. Like, losing's one thing. We can take some losing. That's going to happen, especially in this playoff era, man. You can lose a game out of the gate. Texas lost today. Everybody still got a chance to go to the playoffs as long as you take care of business. It was how. And that's how – look, guys, we look soft. Looks soft a lot of the day. And that's where when, Bama, I text everybody, let's do some Bama shit now. It's time to do Bama shit. And that means when the game's on the line, somebody makes a big play, something happens, and then they would make the first down or the crucial play, or would make a dumb penalty where it was very undisciplined. It's just not very Alabama today, guys.
That's probably the best way you can possibly say it. Johnathan, you've had some time to really just absorb all of this. You're looking at the chat. It's really hard to keep up because they're just firing right at us. And if we missed any questions, I do apologize. It's just coming so fast. But as Pettey said, you really can't put blame on one specific area. And like Pettey also said, the fans who really don't understand football are first going to be anxious to say, fire Ty into the sun. He is who we thought we were. He's a fraud. I told you Keelan Russell was that guy, or I told you Austin Mack was that guy. No, listen, it went all around. Nothing of what we saw today resembled Alabama whatsoever, except Jeremy Bernard. I give him his props. The dude had an absolute day. Bray Hubbard had an absolute day. But also the defense, it came down to fundamentals. It came down to missed tackles. no pressure. I think Castellanos' jersey was the cleanest in the stadium, even cleaner than the kicker. There's a lot of blame to be placed, but Johnathan, I've already taken into your time. Go ahead.
This is it starts at the top, guys. Kalen DeBoer has to bring the energy. When your team is getting pushed around the way Alabama was being pushed around, and he's sitting on the sideline, having his arms folded, looking confused on what's going on, there's just no action. There's nobody in nobody's face. It pretty much, it seemed to me, was all on the players. And I'm going to call some people out. I get it. Pettey is usually the one to do this. I guess I'm going to be the one today to do it. I was wrong. I thought maybe Deontay Lawson could turn things around by getting off blocks and block shedding and everything else. Nope.
Soft.
Same Deontay Lawson as last year. I thought I was wrong about Caden Proctor. Maybe he can improve his kick out. Maybe he can get better in that aspect. Top 5 draft pick, a lot of hype. Nope. Got whipped almost all single game.
Yep.
Ryan Williams. What did I preach to you, Justin? He's not great at route running, and he never runs mesh routes or down the middle for a reason, because of his size. They don't want to get him hurt. What happened when they did it? He got hurt, right? So it was clear as day, 5 drops total, 3 from Ryan Williams. I mean, the blame is to go around on everybody. The defense lacked complete effort. At times, Ty Simpson like a deer in headlights. You know what I mean? Like, it just, like I said, it goes from the top down. Whose job is it to get a team up and motivated to play? Because it seems like there's nobody there to do it. This was an issue last year, and it's running into this year in the first game. Like, I just don't understand it. Ty Simpson, I'm not going to put all the blame on him, obviously, but damn it, man. Like, the inaccuracy on some of these throws were almost inexcusable. Well, 2 wide open, almost touchdowns, completely missed. Dumping it down to a running back, throwing it behind him, that could have been a first down. I mean, like I said, this goes around to all the players, not just one in specific, right? We got all I heard all off season, and I bought into it 1,000%, guys, was the pass rush is going to be there. Quay Russaw, LT Overton, Yanze Pierre, all these dudes are stacked. They're bigger. David Blue's got these dudes ready to go. They're attack. Man, where the hell was that the first half at all? I didn't see any of that anywhere on the field. One of the first plays was Dejon Lee getting smoked with no safety help over the top. No one, Squirrel White's right across from him. One of the fastest players in the SEC. No help over the top. Congratulations. I don't know. It was simple things we missed out on. This is just a complete failure from very top to the very bottom to the water boy, filling the damn buckets. I don't know. That's the only way I can put it.
I think you were hitting on it, and this is something Griff can speak to better than anybody on this panel. And people are hinting at it in our chat right now. Alabama, one of the things we always know about that Crimson is on both sides of the ball, there's some dogs in that locker room, some just mean mother that will go when times get dirty and I mean, punch somebody on the sideline if they. I mean, we got Reuben Foster on our Tuesday show. He will fight a dude on the sideline, and Griff. That's what I mean. Where are the dogs at, man? That's where's the guy who's the guy that grabs the face mask in these times? Because I didn't see it today.
Yeah, I don't think he showed up today, and you know, I'm with you guys. Like, I am not going to throw this on Ty Simpson. I mean, I've been in this situation before, and you know, you look back at the beginning of the game, and even more than just the first drive. At one point, I think he had 6-7 straight completions. You know, back when they were still in their game plan. You know, and things are going to according to plan. My biggest question this whole time leading up is who are going to be the game changers on offense this year? It's like, you know, we had Ryan last year, the first half of the season, and he was spectacular when he was. And then he goes dark. And so it's got to be more than one guy. And Jeremy Bernard had a great game today. But Jeremy, you know, he needs to tell his buddies, hey, we got a game today, because the rest of them didn't really show up. You know, the Cuevas kid, I think I really like him. I think he's going to be an integral part of this offense if they'll utilize him as Ty Simpson continues to get his footing and get comfortable. I think that's going to be a weapon for him. That's not exactly the flashiest thing that fans want to see. You know, they want to see the big plays of Ryan Williams and Jerry Bernard. But you know, we got to get Simpson into a position where he feels comfortable so he can execute the game plan. But when you let it get out of control or out of your grasp that quickly, then the other team's got all the cards in their hands, and and you're playing out of panic and fear and catch up. And so the whole thing kind of unravels. On defense, for most of the game, I thought up the middle, we were solid. I don't know what happened on the edge and on the perimeter. I mean, they ripped us from the first. I wouldn't have ever run it up the middle again. And yeah, I mean, I would keep doing the misdirection, bouncing to the perimeter. We couldn't stop it. It's like we had never been taught gap fit responsibilities for protecting the perimeter. And I don't know if they knew that going in with Florida State, or if they figured it out real quickly. But I mean, it was very Vandy-like last year, where you saw a weakness, glaring weakness early, and man, we could not fix it. And, you didn't see a lot of pass rush because they were ripping our ass around the corner every play, for most of the time. So, I don't know. Todd Simpson's probably going to be okay. It's a tough situation for a first-year guy. And when things go wrong in an environment like that, and you got a guy that's never had to handle it in a game-time situation, the whole thing kind of comes unraveled sometimes. And I think that's what you saw today. I'm most proud of that gutsy play he made on that long fourth down run. I mean, like that kid's a competitor.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know if he's a vocal leader like you're talking about a dog. He's not Reuben Foster. He's probably not going to punch anybody in the mouth. But he's a kid that others will follow. We just got to give him some support so that he can do an adequate job to help us win ball games. He doesn't have to be Tua Tagovailoa right now or ever. We just got to, that first half, the first quarter, that's what it needs to look like. You're managing the game. You're not putting yourself in negative situations. It's always positive. And we saw a glimpse of that. And then Florida State, they came after us and they had a great plan. And once they got us off the rails, you get down by 2 scores that early in an environment like that. It's just hard to you got to immediately abort the script and figure out how to make something happen. And Ryan Williams didn't show up today.
Not at all. Not at all.
Jeremy Bernard did all he could do.
And so did Rico Scott. I was really impressed with what I saw.
Well, Rico Scott had a great game.
And you say get after. Look, one of the things I've talked about all week, all of us people that grew up in the 90s outside of, loving Bama, every game wasn't on TV, but Florida State was on like every weekend, and there was an allure to Doak. So it was very cool going to Doak. What I didn't expect to see today, all we've heard all offseason is Bama standard, bringing back that standard. What I saw was the standard of Florida State from the 90s. They, like you said, they brought it. They had the energy. We didn't.
Absolutely. Let's go to our first topic. I think we probably already mentioned some of our big surprises or takeaways, but just in case we left some things out, well, this is the opportunity we'll get to have to voice it. For me, the biggest surprise going in for me, I thought that Alabama had a huge advantage up front defensively. I know you're probably going to laugh me out of this stream right now, but I thought that Alabama had a distinct advantage up front because Florida State had an offensive line that was made to order from Amazon. All the guys who were starting were from the transfer portal. They never had played together. They did have experience at other schools, but they didn't have experience together. And I thought the chemistry was not going to be quite there. And I didn't know what they did during fall camp or how they bonded during the spring. I don't have privy to that information because I have no insiders over there. So just based on what we've seen in the past, it's really hard, especially in offensive line, to get that kind of continuity out the gate, right? And also, in addition to that, thinking that would be a disadvantage for Florida State, I didn't think that Gus Malzahn will be able to run the type of offense that he's comfortable with running just because he didn't have that continuity there. Boy, was I wrong. That was one of the biggest surprises for me in this game. These guys look like they've been playing together for 4 years. And our defensive line, our front seven, looked like they just got picked up from a rec league team and said, hey, you want to come inside the stadium and we'll give you some cool gear. All right, cool. That's what I saw. But yeah, Griff, take over. Then we'll go back to Pettey and then Johnathan. What was your biggest surprise or surprises or takeaways?
Well, probably the biggest surprise to me was Castellano kid. I had no idea he was going to be that big a problem. I mean, I knew about him. I knew he was extremely athletic, versatile. But you talk about a dog or need a dog on your team. That guy's a dog. And he reminded me so much of Diego Pavia. It was crazy. And I think probably a guy like that is probably a dream situation for Gus Malzahn and the kind of things he likes to do. You know, I mean, it's and we've seen this before over the years. You know, great teams. There's a kryptonite out there. You know, we saw it at Georgia Southern or Georgia State a few years ago with Coach Saban, and they come out with a triple option. We made them look like, you know, Super Bowl champions that day. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, this seems to be this scheme's kryptonite is a guy like that. But I did not realize how big a factor he was going to be. That guy's going to be a problem for folks. And then I was also surprised by FSU's intensity level. I felt like we were going to own that part of the game. I felt like we had something to prove. We knew it. We had to go set a new standard, make a mark, and get some of that swagger back. And I felt like we looked like that when we came out in that first drive. And then when FSU came out on their first drive, I thought, oh, shit, they got it too. But they upped it up a level. And then, you know, thirdly, just Ryan Williams not showing up. And I was with Roman Harper a couple of weeks ago, and he spoke to our relevant group in Huntsville. And, of course, everybody wants to ask about Ryan. And I think they expected Roman to, you know, maybe drink the Kool-Aid. And he kind of hesitated and said, who knows? We'll see, you know. And we were talking afterwards, just he and I, and it was, you know, his point was, hey, he's a phenomenal talent. And, you know, he made some amazing plays last year. But what's he going to do in year two to really improve as a receiver? What's he going to do coming out of every route? You know,
right.
He can show up and he can make 1, 2, 3 crazy plays that are going to be on SportsCenter. But, you know, where are the other 7, 8, 9 catches, you know, dig route, out route, you know, when you need 7 yards, 8 yards. That's, you know, that was Roman's point. And I texted him earlier and I said, well, I think he might've been right about that because he's too good of a player to not show up every Saturday and affect the stat line and affect the end result of the game like he didn't do today.
Pettey, what did you see that really served as a surprise to you? I mean, you could argue the entire performance was a huge surprise, but I'll let you take the floor.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, how many? It's like an onion. You got to peel back all the damn layers. It wasn't one thing because it wasn't like, well, we lost because this one aspect was bad. We lost because there were so many. You know, both lines got dominated. You mentioned it. It was right. You know, a portal offensive line, but apparently they found the guys that work. I watched Castellanos a lot last year. I remember watching him against Missouri when he played at Boston College. And Missouri's, I mean, he was good, but he wasn't anything that I just said, well, this guy's unstoppable. And, you know, give Norvell and Gus credit for that. I just wasn't expecting the defense to get put on skates like it did today. I kind of expected that to be a dominant group for Alabama. And again, I say maybe drinking the Kool-Aid, but I listen to people outside of the Bama circle as well. And there was a lot of growing optimism about Kane Womack's unit on defense, mainly because of the depth at secondary and the guys that were supposed to take a step up on the defensive line. So it's just, again, shocking. I said it leading into the segment. I was expecting Bama to go in and maybe be back a little more to their standard. Kalen DeBoer was a winner coming into this. I thought he was going to come in and do that, and not saying he won't. One game's not the end of the world. This team could, you know, get their shit together and practice, go on a run, and everybody's laughing because, you know, you go 10-2 and you're in the playoffs, and this doesn't matter anymore. But it was alarming at the energy that Florida State brought, and the ability to, or the lack of ability to answer from the Bama defense, from the offensive line, from the guys that should have taken over the game. And, you know, you got on me, Jonathan, for not calling out players. I was calling out full freaking units because the whole damn offensive line looked bad. But no, Peyton Proctor is a kid we hear about's a top 3 draft pick, and you're just getting abused all day. And one of the things that helps a young quarterback get settled in is a little bit of time. And when he's running for his life, it was insane. The very first drive, you know, Ty looked poised as all get out. And then by the end of the game, man, the deer in headlights look came because he was just getting harassed and the game was coming at him fast. And Florida State the stadium was loud as hell. It just, you know, again, Florida State, welcome to the freaking transfer portal NIL world. That's not bitching about it. Get praise for Florida State for using it. This is 1 year removed from being 2-10 with the DJ ukulele experiment going awful wrong. You bring in Gus, you bring in Castellanos, and it shows you don't know what to expect when you hit the field. And they just, that's it, man. I'd talked myself up on this Bama team. I'd talked myself up on DeBoer was going to finally turn the corner and be the guy that wins championships at NIA schools or takes Washington to the Final Four and beats Sarkisian twice. And I'll be honest, guys, it looked more like a continuation of the end of last year, and that's what's alarming.
Man, yeah, Jonathan, I don't know what you have stored in your little bank there that you've collected throughout the game, and then hearing what we had to say, but I'm interested to hear what you had to say. One thing I do want to ask you and Griff, two things going into this game that I thought would be an obstacle for us was Tim Keenan not being there. But then again, I had some kind of assurance that all throughout the offseason, Jeremiah Beeman was that dude, so there wouldn't be that much of a drop-off. And then Jaden Roberts not being in, that was my other concern because of concussion. So I want to ask, does it make that much of a difference if you lose one particular guy? And Griff, I'd like to have you answer this question. I know being an offensive line, former offensive lineman, having a key guy out like a Jaden Roberts, does that really cause a lot of disruption? Or do you still feel like you have enough strength in what you have to where you can still be dominant like you're expected to? And then I'll kick it over to Jonathan.
Well, it definitely makes a difference. And it can have an impact. Sometimes it's bigger impact. Sometimes it's smaller, depending on the situation. Obviously, when things get dire quickly, that situation kind of balloons faster, and so it puts it under a microscope. I didn't realize that Jaden Roberts was going to be out till the game started. I was more concerned with Jam Miller not being available for the next ever how long, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. And, I know everybody always says, oh, we're so deep. We've got all this depth. Well, you know what? Those guys are the number ones for a reason. And, not that the number 2, number 3 guy, but when you come out of the gate and you're already handicapped a little bit in terms of having, potential star level guys on the bench. And then you don't really know what the 2 and 3 guy that are going to have to backfill for that are going to, where's the consistency going to come from? Which one's going to perform? And then, potentially you got to deal with future injuries down the road when you got, a guy, the number 1 guy out for potentially 6 or 8 weeks. And so it can have a compounding effect on the overall result of the whole thing. Gino playing right guard, kids played a lot. I've talked to the coaches about him. He's a guy that they trust. He doesn't have the physical tools that Jaden does. He doesn't have the earth mover effect. But he's a smart, savvy player. Last year at times he made some bonehead mistakes at critical times that cost us. But he's a serviceable guard. But when you're trying to come in and set a new standard of physicalness and get that swagger back. Not having a guy like Jaden Roberts in there, he's a tone setter. I mean, the dude squats 900 pounds. He mauls people. He doesn't just block people. He hurts people. And, it definitely takes some of the edge off. And then, additionally, when those guys that are backfilling in these spots in a game time situation, when things go bad, especially early on, a lot of times they don't have the experience to keep it together and kind of help keep the whole thing glued together and get back on track. It just kind of seems to spiral out of control quicker. And then when that happens, the other team, they just dial it up. And so what was bad before gets really bad, really bad, really worse because they're unencumbered on the other side of the ball. They can do whatever the hell they want to do because they already got an advantage stacked up on you. I didn't think that the O-line played bad in the first half of the game. There were some hits on the quarterback, but a lot of those were created by quarterback scrambling into the protection. They were running a lot of twists at us. They were seeing a lot of games, a lot of stunts, some blitz, and Proctor a lot of times will get hammered with that because the guy that he was matched up with makes the play, but really the guard didn't bounce off on some of those twist stunts. And that's a timing issue. I mean, you got Dewberry's a first or second year guy transferred from A&M. I don't know how much he's played that left guard spot at least all spring or all fall camp. But it's a 2-3 man dance in pass protection. And somebody ends up, when the quarterback gets hit, usually somebody ends up looking like an ass over it. But a lot of times it's not that guy's responsibility. They got to work together and pass those stunts off and ultimately keep the guy off the quarterback. Because when the quarterback starts getting the pressure like that, he's, especially a new guy who's trying to find his groove, it's just a recipe for the whole thing to unravel.
Absolutely. Jonathan.
Well, let me go back to the original question. The biggest surprise. My biggest surprise is going to be Florida State rallied behind Thomas Castellanos. When he was knocked down, they were there to pick him up. Right? When they were on the sidelines, his teammates were there with him. Can't say that with Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson was knocked down. They weren't picking him up. When you looked at the sideline, the teammates weren't around him high five. They weren't doing any of that, in my opinion. And I think, once again, it's little things like that, I think, to look at, especially for big games. This guy, just like Griff said, he's a first-year starter. Yeah, needs all the support in the world. And it just seemed like all we heard last year was how fractured the locker room was possibly made between Jalen Milroe. You know what I mean? We don't know how much of that was true. I can't speak on that. But it seems like this team, as much as everybody want to hype up the continuity, everybody doing things together, Ryan Williams and the receivers going out to Vegas and making TikToks with, God knows, former head coaches, right? So stuff like Gruden was who the TikToks were made with, all this stuff going on. And then you get out to a game like this and it doesn't look the same. Like, I don't know. It hasn't looked the same since Kalen DeBoer has been there. I'm not saying it's completely his job, obviously, but my opinion is everything does start at the top. So, I mean, that's just my honest opinion on that. And as far as the injuries go, guys, Florida State had 2 key starters out as well, right? So, I mean, we weren't the only ones who were injured. I'm not going to sit here and make an excuse for injuries. Of course, it's going to affect the play. Of course, Tim Keenan, he's a starter for a reason. Jaden Roberts is a starter for a reason. But at the same time, you look at this game and you don't go, oh, well, because that starter is out, that's why we lost. Like, it was an effort thing, right? So, I mean, from my point of view, it was just a lack of effort. There were so many missed tackles because they're just basically holding on for dear life and letting the dude drag them. Like, I don't know any other way to put it.
Hey, let me interject here. I want to say this. I was not making a case that we
lost. No, I'm not saying you were. I'm not saying you were.
In no way, shape, form, or fashion, because we came out of the gate and handed the ball to Richard Young, and he was cracking heads. And I thought,
exactly.
Like that guy is what I hoped he was going to be, and I was glad he got the opportunity. They just got us out of our game plan so fast that we just had to abandon it because now we got to try to make something happen down the field and couldn't do it.
Yep.
No doubt. The starters being out did not lose us the game.
No.
One of the most disappointing things I saw was, I believe it was in the third quarter when they scored that touchdown around the right side. And they zoom in on the close up, and there were 2 or 3 guys right there as their guy crossed with the line of scrimmage and then gets into the end zone, and they stopped running. I mean, maybe they could have made the tackle. It had been close. They could have got a hand on him. They could have got a piece of him. They stopped, and he runs into the end zone. And I thought, man, that's not Alabama football. You gotta lay it on the line to the last inch, trying to keep him out of that end zone. And I felt like the offense played with more intensity than that. They just got behind the 8 ball way too far, way too fast, and took them out of their game plan. But defensively, man, hey, you may not be the best on the field, but you can play the hardest. You can play 100%. You can play, with effort that's up to the standard. And, once they got punched in the mouth a few times, there was a lot of laying down.
Yep.
And I thought again at the end of the game too, guys, packing it in, even though the game's most likely out of reach, there's still time on, in regulation, and you're still out there. You're still Alabama. You got to play to the end, and I didn't see that defensively from some guys. Not all of them, but some of them.
Yeah.
And it takes 11.
Absolutely. And you bring up another point that's been kind of a Achilles heel to Alabama these past few years is the sidelines is quiet. It's like you're at a wake and no one's getting energized. They're not getting each other's faces. They're not holding each other accountable. They're not like Reuben Foster and Deontay Lawson almost getting in a fight because people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And again, like you said, it looked at times like Ty didn't have the support of his teammates. Hell, you didn't have support from half the Alabama fan base in the offseason. Everybody was already writing him off, saying, well, oh, he couldn't beat Milroe, or he hadn't done anything in X amount of years. What makes you think he's going to do anything now? It's from top to bottom. It's just absolutely amazing, and it doesn't resemble Alabama at all. All right, before we move on, we got a couple of things I want to address. First of all, we got a sponsor, Title Towel. Listen, go to www.whitwillsports.com today, and we'll get a chance to wave them proudly this next week as we return home to face Louisiana Monroe, the Warhawks. Enter the promo code STANDARD, and you get 15% off of this order. So that's right. Get your Title Towel. Let's go ahead and turn the season around this next coming game against ULM. All right. I also want to acknowledge some folks who have thrown some super chats our way. So let's go ahead and shout them out. $1.99 Gelato, leave Kane in Florida. A lot of folks are saying that right now.
And we've got a lot of people in chats, and there's a lot of comments flying quick. So if you want your comment read, or it's really important to you, hit that super chat, and they'll make sure we'll get read by us.
And Don Parker, man. This is completely on the coaching staff and the team as a whole. Gus ran Vandy's offense all day long. If teams are not being built to dominate the line of scrimmage, then you are not winning. And then the bad man himself, Jimmy Clay, $20. Always roll tide forever.
Roll tide, Jimmy Clay.
Roll tide, brother. Don Parker, another $2. I call out DeVore. Yeah, ice cream man.
I knew Don Parker was going to be here tonight, fired up.
Absolutely. Juice Crew, $1.99. We are no longer Linebacker University. Wow.
Yeah, man, hate to admit that. They looked like they were on skates today.
Absolutely. Donna be curious, $5. Did Bama build the offense around Jam Miller and things fell apart with injury?
He wouldn't have changed anything today.
I honestly don't. And again, like we've already mentioned, we went away from the run. I think we went away from the run way too early. We just went in panic mode and started to become an air raid offense, and that didn't work to our advantage either. So, Gelato, $1.99. The dogs are putting fingernail polish on.
Oh, my Lord. I knew those were coming.
It was ready for that one. Ready for that Zinger. Hey, look, if you're going to play the TikTok, we're going to be cute game, you better back it up. Like we said, Castellanos talked shit and backed it up. If Bama kicks that butt today, he's catching a lot of hell. You're going to be pretty on TikTok and Twitter. You better back it up on the field.
Right. Don Parker, $5. Marvin Constant, I will definitely buy a T-shirt. Make one for the board too. Yeah, I said it.
There we
go. Don Parker, $2. A continuation of last year is no lie, Pettey.
Hey, Don.
Jeremy Matthews, $9.99. We should have did a 4-4 defensive scheme. Do you feel like that would have made a difference? Or was effort really the main driver here?
It doesn't matter if it's 4-4 or 4-2-5 if they're not running to the ball.
Yeah, they're hard. Not tackling. Doesn't matter.
100%.
All right, and we got one little question that was thrown in there. Menden Groeschel, forgive me if I butchered your name. What was Saban thinking recruiting Ty Simpson? Who wants to take this?
One game.
I think thinking he was a 5-star.
I mean, he was a 5-star number one. I mean, come on.
Okay.
Tell me what all bad Ty did today. Tell me all the bad things Ty did today while on the run.
Let me tell you the bad real quick. He went 23 of 43, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. That's not a terrible stat.
Horrible day. Considering he was on the run most of the day from an offensive line that wasn't protecting him, and we've discussed there was 5 drops on the day. We haven't even discussed the untimely penalties all throughout the day, which is pure lack of discipline. That's, of course, on your quarterback, right? Again, it's not one guy. Now, could Ty have done things better? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We're not going to say he gets a gold star and he was,
he doesn't get a pat.
Mahomes out there today. He wasn't.
No.
But like saying, why did Saban recruit this guy? Come on, guys. Let's
and I kind of had a feeling that we were going to go this route from the fan base.
Oh, you knew it was coming.
I mean, if he would have called the wrong coin flip on the coin toss, everybody would have been done with him. But considering that this was his first outing in a hostile environment, I mean, I kind of think that he gets a pass. I don't think you cast a guy into the sun. Not like we said, he did some things wrong. No question about that.
Okay. All right, he doesn't get
However, I think he needs to be given the benefit of the doubt. Coach Saban wouldn't have thrown him out or given up on him just because of one game. Now, if this is something that's continuous, then we can have a different conversation. So I think we need to lay off of just one player.
No,
hey, you can clearly see the guy's got a skill set that's impressive because you saw how he played when things were going according to plan. You know, the question is when things don't go according to plan. The thing that I got to remind everybody is that kid, nor any other kid in that field, it's a underclassman, younger guy, is going to be as good today as they're going to be down the road. Right. I mean, it didn't go their way today, and nobody wanted to lose the game over it. But you know, I mean, you can see the tools the guys got when things go right. Now, what you got to do, you got to come back and you got to fix the things that went wrong, so you can preserve that kind of consistency throughout the game, so they can do what they're good at for the duration of the game, as opposed to having to pull the panic cord and start trying crazy shit. The only question, I mean, he made a couple of missed throws today that he probably should have made, but my concern was, what are we going to look like positive versus negative situations? And we had a lot of undue negative situations last year, all year long, and it never got fixed. The only real questionable play that he made today was the one later in the game when they're trying to make something happen. And I believe it was the one where Burlford returned the fumble. You could tell he was under pressure. He's trying to avoid the sack, trying to get rid of the ball, and he probably should have just eaten that one, even though a sack was not ideal, but it could have gone wrong. I may have the play wrong, but that was the only real bad decision in terms of preserving positive versus negative situations.
Well, in one more, and look, I'll call him out for it. I'm not saying he was perfect today. There was one where late in the game he skipped it to Ryan Williams, and he could have moonwalked the first down on the third down, and then we had the fourth down, and it got crazy. That was just a decision where, gosh, you have all day to run, take the damn run. And again, at that point, his head, I feel like his head had kind of gotten scrambled at that point. And look, I felt like he struggled passing on the run today. Every time he was on the run, it seemed to be he would short hop it and go low. So now there's things to fix, no doubt. But I didn't think the decision making was that horrible. I thought it was a group effort down there in that loss today.
Now, I do want to point out something. So because Pettey says he struggled throwing on a run, he did. But on the actual moving the pocket, rolling out plays, he did pretty damn well. His first couple passes he rolled out, and they were accurate and on time. And I think if I want to be super critical, for me, my point of view watching this game, he wasn't throwing them open. He was throwing two open receivers, if that makes any sense. Like they're already open and he's throwing to them. And I think a lot of that has to do with this is his first real game under the lights. Right. And you're not going to be in all-star mode week one, in your first game ever. So I think we definitely need to pump the brakes on Ty for sure, because it could have went a lot worse. And the grit he showed for me at the end, like Griff mentioned, like the 9 to almost 10-yard run where, it was close to being the first down, that showed me all I wanted to see as far as a quarterback goes, right? This dude has grit and determination. He's willing to get popped in the mouth to get that first down. And it's more to say than a lot of these receivers and running backs. So
I'll take that kid with that effort every day of the week, because I know he's going to show up Monday and he's going to go to work on trying to fix the things he can fix and correct about himself and the folks around him that he corrects. But if everybody's not giving that same effort, you got to look in the mirror. Some of these folks.
All right, so I'm sure the first part of this will probably be very short, while the second half of this is can be quite extensive, but positives and negatives. There has to be some positives, right? Positive for me, I'll go ahead and say what we just said. Ty Simpson and his grit and his determination and willing to keep getting up, regardless of how many times he was getting knocked down. He wasn't quitting on his team. So that to me is a huge positive. Jeremy Bernard, It showed me he is arguably one of the best wide receivers in the country and could be a day 1 or day 2 pick in the NFL draft coming up. Really excited about what we saw from him. I think Josh Cuevas is probably going to be one of the best tight ends in the SEC once he starts to get utilized a lot more. Richard Young, when he's being fed the ball, looked like a prototypical Alabama running back. The problem was we quit feeding him, and we didn't allow him to do what he did best. I was really impressed with Daniel Hill, too. He was running hard and just plowing through folks, and he didn't care how much he had to gain. He was going to do it, and he was also very good catching the ball as well out of the backfield. I really like our running back room. Really impressed with Kevin Riley. Didn't expect to see him today. So that's something the coaches kept secret from us and possibly can be a nice surprise down the road. But negatives, my gosh. The list is too long, but I'm going to pass it to you guys because I've said a lot tonight. So, Griff, tell me your positives and negatives. Then we'll go to Pettey and then up to Johnathan.
Well, unfortunately, I started making this list early in the game, so I had to kind of pivot.
Offensive line, positive.
The first quarter, man, I had all these notes, and I'm like, man, this list is trashed an hour later. But kind of with you, Justin, Richard Young, I was glad to see him come out of the gate swinging today. But not just him; all the running backs look very capable. That's always a big question mark because usually you got one running back that's the cream of the crop and he's, a solid out front runner. I think we saw today that, in our normal situational play calling scheme, all of our running backs are very capable. And it's certainly better when you got 3 or 4 of those guys than when you got 1 or 2 of them. And that was my big question going in is Jan Miller, so top at the Mount Rushmore running backs there that we're going to see a big fall off, but I felt like that was a big positive. I was impressed with the way we came out. I felt like we needed to set the tempo. I felt like we came out intense and aggressive. What I didn't contemplate was FSU matching that, plus some, and the way they maintained that throughout the course of the game. And then I felt like, we waned in that department as the game wore on, obviously, like we've been talking about. And then on defense, up the middle, they had very little success trying to run between, the A gaps, even the B gaps, until later in the game when, things had already, guys are tired, it's worn down, the game's getting out of reach. But before that, when it was a ball game, running up the middle, man, we were pretty darn rock solid aside from just a play here or there where they found something. Cons, we're too soft in coverage. I am not here to talk about my defensive back and secondary skills because I don't know very much about it. But I did play defense my entire football career before I got to college, so I know a little bit about defense. And I can't tell you exactly what it is, but they chewed us up in the secondary. And we got some ball players back there. We have some athletes back there. We got to fix that, or it's going to be an Achilles heel for us all season long with the way teams throw the ball now. And not just big 64, 65-yard plays. I mean, 7, 8, 9 yards, clip after clip after clip that continue to move the ball down the field. And that's just it wears you down over the course of a game. So we got to start making some plays, the defensive secondary and our linebacker core when they're in coverage. And then the lack of responsibility and discipline and gap fit on the edge. I played defensive end my entire high school career. That's what I signed as at Alabama. So I know that it was fun. Like, you've got to maintain gap responsibility. If you've got responsibility for the edge, you got to keep contained. And time after time after time, it's like we never even have been taught that. Like, it's like, how can we, it's one thing if it happens one series, you come back to the sideline and, you get your stuff corrected, but it went on. They could do it all day long. And, that's something that's got to be fixed, or else everybody else is going to mirror this plan to some degree, just like other teams did after Vandy last year. Mm-hmm. I'm concerned about the kicking game. think we got a capable kicker. You know, he missed one, but you know, we don't have that rock solid guy that we've had for years. And at some point in time in the season, you're going to have to rely on the kicker to win one. You know, so what was he 1 for 2 today? Can't remember exactly, but yeah, the one he missed was probably, you know, it might have been a stretch, but you know, you want to feel like, I didn't feel like when we lined up to kick it that we were going to make it, that we had any chance of making it. So you want to feel like you got a chance anytime you take the field out there, that position. And I feel like we probably are not where we have been in that regard at that phase of the game. And then open field tackling is the last one on my con list. You know, even times that we did play responsibility or that we were close in proximity when the receiver caught it, man, we just the ABCs of fundamental defense and fundamental tackling, letting guys out of our grasp, not making the play, not hanging on till somebody can help you. I mean, they just ran through us. You know, like Coach Saban's famous statement, "Shit through a tin horn." That's effort. You know. It's not hard. Those are my pros and cons.
Gotcha. Very well said. Hey, we do have a punter though. I thought he did very well today. That was a concern. That was a concern going in, just because we didn't know what we had, and he was able to put the ball deep. I like what I saw from him, but yeah, you're right, Talty. We just don't know what we're going to get from him when he lines up. Pettey, positives and negatives, sir.
Positive. Jeremy Bernard was the best receiver on the field today. I thought he was really good. I thought Ty obviously found some comfort and continuity with him. I think he's a guy that can be relied on throughout the season as get that first down on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, whenever you need it, 3rd and 5. I think Bernard's going to be good. I think the wide receiver, Williams is going to be fine. Horton going down obviously wasn't good, but I thought the positive was Bernard. I thought Bernard played really well today. Cuevas, when he got his opportunity, looked good. That's it. The negatives are almost like a Dave Chappelle. How much time you got? It was everything else. I just echo what Griff said. The Alabama's linebacker. Well, it's a lot of positions but it's linebacker right? And just the linebackers. A lot of people mentioned it looked a lot like the Vanderbilt game. And it was, it's a mobile quarterback. It looked like linebackers didn't have their eyes in the right spots. It looked like they were chasing a lot of times or 2 steps away. And I'll echo it again since Don gave a super chat. And until I see different, I'm sorry, man. I've got the bug of this is more continuation of last year. It seems like we're always a step away from making the play in the backfield, which is great. You get them on the run, but we never finish. It's a team that doesn't finish plays. We're right there all the time. There was one play Jefferson had Castellanos dead to rights in the backfield and big 3rd down. Next thing you know, he's running for 10 yards, 11 yards and getting the first
and he's
down.
following them behind him, just like he's escorting a guiding.
And I'm like, what the hell? So we're just one step away, and that's what I expected to be different this year. So, we can. I don't want to echo everything. We could become an echo chamber on all the shit that was bad today. But that was the one that, where are the linebackers going? Where's that eye discipline? How has that not gotten better? I expected more. The secondary was abysmal. Like I said, we were decent up the middle, but everywhere else it was just garbage. It's just shocking, and it's shocking that the team just played so flat. I'm gonna keep saying it, and again, I hate to be beat the dead horse or beat the drum. Where's the dogs? Where's the asshole? Where's the guy that's lighting everybody up? Where's that guy? It's been a minute since we had one. Was it Dallas Turner? Was that the last? I don't know. Tell me the last time we had a guy that would get in there and light some asses up when it needed to be done. Dallas Turner's last just dog I remember Bama having on defense.
Gotcha. All right, Jonathan, your positives and your negatives. Don Parker is just begging for people to rip into the coaching staff. So I'll let you take away. What are your positives and negatives?
Well, I already ripped into the coaching staff. I already said it starts at the top. So, right. I think we all know that. It was kind of unsaid. To go in a different direction from you guys, I feel like if we can fix the effort, the initial effort, I think we have a pretty good damn team. The talent is there, in my opinion. We have a talented group of guys. It's just a matter of, getting the mind right a little bit, right? So, and there's been a lot of adjustments leaving the Nick Saban era, coming into the Kalen DeBoer era. Not that that's an excuse, but you get what I'm saying. So we got some things to get right on when it comes to that. This was not an SEC loss, right? So this is not knock us out of the playoffs, right? So there's plenty of opportunities to get this team better. We have Louisiana Monroe next week, which means there are a lot of dinged up guys that can possibly sit down, get back healthy, and correct a lot of issues that we had this week. That's the main positives I'll take away from this game. And me personally, I didn't think Ty Simpson was as bad as what people were grilling him to be, right? So once again, I'm looking at it from the lens of it's his first game. So now if you backtrack in the second game against Louisiana Monroe, then we may have a different story. You know what I mean? So, but I'm sticking to that. And then as far as the negatives, Ryan Williams got hurt. Isaiah Horton was hurt. James Smith was hurt. Cuevas came off the field limping at one point. I mean, there was a lot of guys dinged up, and this was a very rainy game which makes it susceptible to a lot more injuries in a dry field, right? So, unfortunately, that's part of it. Now, the second half of the negatives I'm going to say is going to be we have Jackson Arnold playing at Auburn. We have Diego Pavia still playing at Vandy. We have Lenora Sellers at South Carolina. This does not get easier. These teams, if anything, get better, right? So we got things to fix, and hopefully we fix them in a hurry, or it's going to be an extremely long season for this coaching staff and this team and us fans.
You couldn't agree more. And Tennessee looked damn good today, too.
Yeah.
I get they're playing Syracuse, but the fact is they went out and they handled business.
That made me think of my pie in the sky positive. Hey, maybe the positive is Florida State's a national championship caliber team, and this was just a bad luck first game, and, we'll get better from this, and this will be just a big growth experiment at the end of the year, right? Kool-Aid.
Hey, you may not be wrong because, I had expectations on this game, partly based off what we saw at Florida State last year, which was atrocious. So, hey, we're all human beings here, and so are those guys on Alabama's team. They're, they saw that too. You got to be ready every Saturday. But human nature is human nature, and I think they were probably as surprised as we were that those guys showed up and punched them in the mouth like they did. So maybe they're the real deal.
Well, but Alabama's always been the aggressor, right? We come in with the expectation that we're going to be the alpha dog and we're going to run whoever is there out of our yard, and our yard is anywhere we play, not just at home.
Not Doak Campbell.
No, definitely not Doak Campbell. But I do question, we talked about effort, and it looked at times like some people were just packing it in. What happens going forward when we face adversity like that, or we do get hit in the mouth? Are we looking at those same guys possibly checking out again? That's a genuine concern.
Then we're having a different discussion.
But
I think you got to, clearly what's got to happen is these guys got to be challenged to some level. I mean, by the coaches, by the teammates. I mean, somebody's got to recognize. I mean, the players have got to recognize that, something was missing today, and if you're going to be part of this thing, you're going to have to get your ass in gear, and the coaches are going to have to do the same, or it's going to be somebody else out there, even if it's not the most talented guy. But whoever the guy is that's out there has got to be going 100% every play, because 2, 3, 4, 5 plays off the difference in the game a lot of times. 1 or 2 plays off is the difference in the game. So
right.
You got to get everybody playing to that level from the beginning to the end, and I expect we'll see that. A lot of folks are tossing the baby out with the bathwater in terms of Coach DeBoer. I'm not there yet. I think the guy's the real deal. The people that are clamoring for him to get in everybody's ass, get in everybody's face, y'all are wasting your time with that request or that argument, because that's not the guy's nature. That's not how he's won before. All great coaches that have had great success, through that course of time, didn't all coach like Nick Saban with an in-your-face mentality. Whatever their method is, what's led them to success, up to this point, they got to figure out how to make it translate where they're at now And I got faith that he will. But just because we fixed some things that were wrong last year doesn't mean they're fixed to the degree of 17 national championships level.
Right.
The building back process may not be done. May not be done right now. May not be done this year. The thing is, how are you improving as an organization, as a team, week to week moving forward? I think people discount just how much of a gap they had to make up from Saban's departure. There was he just didn't get handed the keys to the kingdom, and it's just like, hey, the Rolls Royce is yours. Crank it up to 100 miles an hour and carry on. They've had a pretty big gap to make up since that whole transition, and just because things have, some areas are better, some areas are improved, that don't mean they're 100%. There's still work to be done, and I got faith in the guy. I got faith in the coaching staff, but assistant coaches come and go pretty regular. Who knows how that's gonna go? We'll see at the end of the season, but I believe Coach DeBoer has got the goods. It's just going to take some time for him to get his footing there and get it back to where Alabama fans' standard lies, which is pretty darn high. I don't know if y'all noticed or not. So
we picked up on a few things.
See, it doesn't always happen overnight or over one season or over a season and a half. My 2 cents on that about Coach DeBoer.
Gotcha. Jonathan, you wanted to add something before we move on?
Yeah, can I actually echo what Griff is saying? So I went on a podcast last week on Inside the Swamp. I was talking Florida with those guys, and they asked me about the expectations and DeBoer and how the fans are hammering him last year. And I hate to say it, but they said, what if we lose to Florida State? And I was like, man, could this have done it? But no, in all seriousness, I really look at when Mark Richt left Georgia and handed the keys to Kirby Smart, that was an 8, 9, 10 win team on a regular basis. Mark Richt couldn't get it done. It took Kirby Smart 5 years to get it done at Georgia, and he was handed a pretty good damn program as well, right? So to echo Griff's point here, this doesn't happen overnight. Nick Saban didn't build Alabama overnight, right? And it just doesn't happen that way. And I definitely do think there's a responsibility to put on the coaching staff when it comes to, of course, you're going to get the criticism. Of course, you deserve the criticism, and I'm going to criticize. But at the end of the day, I'm definitely not knocking on the door saying DeBoer needs to go. You can't have DeBoer and Saban right on the same expectation line. I'm sorry. It's just unfair. That's just the way it is. And you can sit there and you can scream, it's the standard all you want, because that means there was no such thing of a standard before Nick Saban, because it was never done to that degree before Nick Saban. So can we all just be realistic also at the same time with that point?
Very well said. All right. So real quick before we get to the questions, let's give our players of the game, one offensive, one defensive, and then we'll get to the super chats we have remaining and the questions we have. For me, player of the game on offense, Jeremy Bernard. I think there's no questioning that, no disputing it. Defensive player, I got to go with Bray Hubbard. I think he gave a hell of an effort, regardless of how the defense as a whole played today. But Griff, who do you have? Offense, defense, and then we'll kick it over to Pettey, and then to Jonathan.
Well, I've got Jeremy as my guy on offense too. I thought he had a fantastic game. Jeremy's a guy I got to know this year. Super good kid, committed to this team, and I was glad to see him shine today as the clear number one, because I believe he wanted it. He's worked for it, and you got to see him in action today, especially when the big show was kind of silent with number two. On defense, I just kind of you can put some names in the hat and pick this out. I went with Damani Jackson. Secondary guy, only because I saw him make a couple of big plays where I felt like they were critical at the time. He was playing hard. And then mainly I thought when he had I can't remember if he got flagged for the late hit on Castellano out of bounds or if it was a near late hit, but I thought, well, maybe a late hit on this guy out of bounds, get him out of the game is the best move at this point in time. So I gave him an A for creative thinking in that regard. But yeah, he made some plays today, and but again, not a whole lot of options to choose from because there just weren't guys flashing on the screen making big plays, making a lot of plays.
Understandable. Pettey?
Offensive player of the game, Crown Royal, because it got me through the game. Made play after play.
True.
Midway through the second quarter, it really made a clutch play when Bama was shitting all over itself, and I made a 2/3 version, and it was clutch then. And then in the third quarter, it came through again. And then on defense, I guess the Crown got me to when my wings came off the smoker with about 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. So the defensive player of the game was my smoker coming through. So Crown for offense and wings for defense. Because everything else I watched was shit. Pure soft shit. Charmin extra soft shit.
All right, Jonathan, how do you follow that up?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with somebody else because I think the obvious is Jeremy Bernard, but I think a guy that's not getting much credit I thought did pretty good because he's into this program for year one, and he had a couple pancakes. Cam Dewberry, I thought, actually stepped up pretty well in that guard position and had a fairly good day. As far as defensive side goes, I thought Keon Sabb, and the reason why I'm picking Keon Sabb is because he was a lot more physical than he was last year. He really came and laid the wood a couple of times.
That's a good answer.
And he had the only sack.
Yeah.
Sabb did play pretty well. I thought Sabb flashed.
He was a guy that you could tell was ready to get back after it after missing the majority of last season. So he's dialed in. There's no question about that. But yeah, shout out to Cam Dewberry. Very physical. There's only a few times I feel like somebody got the best of him, but overall very pleased with his performance. I thought freshman London Simmons on the defensive line did pretty well with his first outing, all things considered. So shout out to London. So let's get to some audience questions, and we got some super chats. So, all right, Daryl Marshall. My question is, why was everybody unavailable week one? Are we not taking care of the guys in practice? What are the practice habits, or is it just bad luck? Well, you got to take into consideration this is a physical game. It's not ballerina. It's not ballerina practice. It's legit hitting. It's just the nature of the beast. But anyone want to really break this down?
I think Griff would be perfect to break this down because he's been in those practices.
Yeah, he knows kind of
how it goes.
Well, so this is a little bit of a can of worms to open up, but yeah, there's a there is a distinct difference in the way the game's played today. And I'm sorry I'm biased, and I played 100 years ago when it was different. And I went
Jefferson
to a practice. Yeah, Jefferson, a lot of 11:30 games back then.
Yeah. The Jefferson Pilot days.
I'll be the first to tell you, we lost a lot of worse ones than this when I was there too. So, I can relate. But, I went to a practice 2 years ago, and it was the first practice I had attended in Tuscaloosa since the last one I participated in, and as a player. And I chose to go on a Tuesday, which is supposed to be the heavy contact day, big hitting day. And I was kind of excited to see it. And so this was 2 years ago. So this was Coach Saban's last year. This wasn't DeBoer. And I was shocked to see how not violent it was. I mean, Tuesdays were murder. And that was the case at every level for me. Like in whatever, high school, whatever your heavy contact day was, it's usually Monday in high school because you play on Friday. It's Tuesday in college because you play on Saturday. And, it was a Tuesday practice. And, I wouldn't say they were going half speed, but maximum 3/4 speed. And I walk over to watch OLDL drills and thinking you're going to see some 101, offensive lineman going against defensive lineman and some pass. And it was like a walkthrough. The game and the way that they practice has changed so much. And that translates to the field. And I'm watching today, you see guys, there's so much less contact out there, which I think is good for the player, safety-wise. It's not good for the fans' enjoyment because they like to see people getting hammered out there. But, you got to play throughout the course of the game, and then you see a big contact play one time, and they're hurt all the time. I mean, it's like this is the first contact play you've had all day, man. It's like you've been ankle tackled, arm tackled, drug out of it, and then you have one contact play and you come out. Unfortunately, I think it's just part of where the game's at, and the way they've changed, the way they practice, the way they changed the way they call the game in terms of, unnecessary roughness and this, that, and the other. But, there's just a different level of toughness out there. I mean, I can vividly remember I had a toe injury, and, I scoff at toe injuries because Neil Callaway, my offensive line coach, my toe, I had turf toe or something. I don't know what it was. I couldn't hardly walk. And he said, well, we'll just cut your toe off. And I thought, well, I don't really want to lose my toe, so I guess I'll just figure this out. And like, how many guys do you see now missing time for a toe injury? I mean, it's all the time, So it's different. It's not just different here. It's different everywhere.
Yeah, it's different it's a different era, man, and it's a pill that we're all having to swallow, and it's very tough at Alabama when we're used to dudes.
Right.
Real quick before we go to the next question, Jonathan, you have some breaking news regarding Ryan Williams and an injury.
Yeah. He does officially have a concussion and will enter the concussion protocol according to everybody at the medical staff from Alabama. They just announced in the press conference. So
I'm not sure how he got a concussion because I don't think that guy ever hit his head.
I think he hit his own guy. I think he hit his head on the ground. I think he died. I think he hit his head on the ground.
When he fell back, his back of his head bounced. I thought. I could be wrong.
Well, they called the flag for targeting, right? And then they kept showing the replay. And my wife was hollering at the TV screen, that's targeting. I'm like, that guy never made contact with him. That guy hit his own guy. They're going to reverse this call. And I really thought it was, shit, I dropped the ball. Maybe I can pull this targeting call. And he nearly did, but maybe he was really hurt. I don't know.
I feel like I had the same argument in my house. I feel like, am I watching the same game as y'all guys? I want it to be, but I mean, I think he hit his own guy because if you look from that first angle, it looked like he went high and when Ryan went down.
Because, we had Eddie Conyers a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago at our Elephant Club meeting. I don't know if you guys know who Eddie is, but he was our long-time practice official. He's like 98. He's fantastic. He was talking about this and these guys, they don't make the play, but if it's a high contact, fast, bang, bang play, you put a little showmanship out there and the ref's going to throw the flag, when it comes to contact to the head, if it looks like it. And if I'm not mistaken, that wasn't reviewable before. Is that new this year to make that a reviewable call? Because I thought it is. Yeah. Okay. And so I thought when they threw the flag, I thought, well, he got him. But then I saw it was up for review, and I thought, well, this is coming back. There's not, but might as well. If you don't make the catch, might as well try to get the flag, I guess.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Kudos for the effort on that.
Right. David, the real question is, did Ty Simpson win the quarterback battle, or was he given it by default, loyalty, or seniority? Who wants to take this one?
No, hey, nobody at this level is being given any job for loyalty or seniority. I mean, it's not happening in this day and age. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, that might have been the case, but in today's game, it is who is the best guy at this spot that gives us the best chance to win. And that's the bottom line, not just at Alabama. That's the bottom line everywhere.
And look, I get fans are emotional right now. I get it. We were expecting pie in the sky. People were talking about playoff run, Final Four. But Kalen DeBoer gets paid millions of dollars to win. He wants to win. He's not just like, I'm going to do the good old boy little league coach's son system. No, he's going to give the guy who he thinks gives him the best chance to win the game the keys to the system. He's not doing this. Again, I get the emotions right now, and there's a lot of stuff that was wrong with Ty's game, that needs to improve on. But DeBoer's not. I mean, he's starting the guy that he thinks gives him the best chance. And if you listen to his press conferences, several weeks ago, he was kind of letting you know, Russell's got a high ceiling. He doesn't even know how to call plays in a huddle right now. So you want him to go into Doak when he can't even communicate to his team and try to call plays, and even better yet, make an audible when he doesn't even know the system? Come on, guys. Like, let's be real. The kid's going to get there. And again, say what you will. Maybe it's not the guy. Maybe Ty isn't. I hope he is. I hope we're all, again, I hope I was actually not crazy and Florida State's just really damn good and this gets better or whatever. Hope Ty goes on. But if he's not, he's not playing him because of anything like that. I think that's kind of crazy. And I think that, Griff, you were getting to that point. Like, these coaches are trying to win. Like, they hate it just as much right now, too.
All right, real quick. Travis Hamilton projected ranking this week. I say we probably dropped down to 16.
16,
Johnathan,
17.
Pettey, and Griff. You want to say something?
I don't care about the ranking.
God, it doesn't matter.
I really don't.
The least of my worries at this point. It doesn't matter.
Right.
What matters is how we respond.
Absolutely.
And when we come back, do you see? Can you see improvement in the areas of deficiency we had today? And that's really all that matters. Because this team's going to be what it's going to be at the end of the day. And, I hope they win a national championship just like everybody else does. But, the reality of it is they may not. But they got to work to fix the mistakes that were made today and fix the problems they got and be the best of whatever they're going to be. And so next week's ranking is irrelevant. None of this matters till you get to the end of the season. And what happened today has no bearing on our goals for the rest of the season, unless your goal is to have an undefeated season. But if your goal is to get to the playoffs, win a national championship, win a Southeastern Conference championship, nothing about that changed today. And, looking on the bright side, this could be a silver lining. This could be a wake-up call this team needs to see where they need to get in line, personnel-wise, attitude-wise. Same thing happened to us in 1999. We got beat by Louisiana Tech. And went on a run, beat Auburn for the first time in Jordan-Hare Stadium in the history of the rivalry. Beat Florida in Gainesville, and beat them a second time in the SEC championship. And had we not had that loss to Louisiana Tech, that never would have happened for us. I mean, it was a catalyst that got us where we needed to be, or where we were capable of going. And, hey, today wasn't Louisiana Tech. Today was Florida State. And, they had a pretty damn good team that I don't think a lot of people saw coming. So let's not totally toss the baby out with the bathwater and just panic at this point.
Gotcha. Ephraim, $2. We appreciate you, brother. Keep working. Keep grinding. It's a long season. Jeff Merriman, 1999. We greatly appreciate you. Saban said it today. If you're going to pay players, better pay great players or shit out of luck. Coaching staff is awful. Saban was smart to get out when he did. He knew teams that buy the best players and coaches will win. I don't know if that's necessarily why he left, but we're not in his mind. But thank you for the super chat just the same. We got professionally certified hater. At least you're honest. $4.99. Womack had months to scheme for one player. He talked and proved him right. 11 Sharman undisciplined, mentally weak guys. Proctor didn't improve at all. Fans are vocal tonight.
Well, half of that's not true, because if you watch Caden his freshman year, it couldn't have been much worse than that. The guys made drastic improvements. And like I said at the beginning of the show, and, I know I'm a little bit of an offensive line nerd, and most people aren't really paying that close of attention. They watch the replay, and the guy that was matched up with the guy, he got blown up a couple of times. That did happen. But guess what? That happens to every guy, throughout the course of the game. But, a lot of the times that the fans are tagging this kid with a sack or, pressure, as a guard, as well as Cam Dewberry played today, with the stunts and the games they were running, he didn't pass the twist off. I saw it immediately when it was happening. Like, they're going to hit the quarterback because they didn't pass the twist off. And then another time, Ty starts to scramble, and he scrambles right into the twist. Well, when you look at it at face value, it looks like Proctor gives up the sack, but really the pocket had already broken down from the other side, and Ty scrambled into the sack. And he was just trying to get away. It wasn't necessarily a mistake by Ty. But on television, it looks like he gave up a play. But really, he had his guy blocked. The quarterback scrambles into the play. So, I get a little defensive of the offensive line.
No, I get it. The thing is,
there's plenty out there that are. There's plenty of them out there that aren't good. Caden Proctor is not one of them that's not good. Does he have? He doesn't have very many holes in his game, And but people can downtrot him all he wants to, but he's going to be a first-round NFL draft pick because he's 6'7", 360, 22% body fat, and vertical jumps 32. He doesn't care what we're saying about him because next year it ain't going to matter.
When he gets drafted third, he's not going to care.
No. Real quick, we got Gelato $4.99 and went away from the run too early and put too much pressure on Ty. I completely agree with that. And that's one of the things I think we needed to do going into this game was rely on the running game very heavily. Don't put Ty into a situation where he has to play hero ball in his first game. And it looked like we were doing that, but we went completely away from it and started making calls out of desperation, it felt like at times. All right, so let's go to the next one. Jeremy Matthews, $9.99. That screen pass that we did was sloppier than Sloppy Joe's.
Yeah, that was.
I don't know what was happening with that. I don't know if his shoe just sniffed it out. That kid blew it up. I don't know. It was either they were onto the play or we just didn't execute it worth a shit. I mean, it looked bad. It was the first time we'd ever run it.
Probably a combination of both. Damon, Bama boy Davis, $2. Why did we run the 3-3-5 on defense?
We ran a combination.
We ran multiple.
We ran multiple. So yeah, we didn't run just a 3-3. Now FSU's a 3-3-5, base 3-3-5. But no, we're correct me if I'm wrong, Griff. Aren't we a base 4-2-5? And then of course we're multiple.
It's multiple.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're a base 4-2-5, but I mean not just Alabama, but defense in college and pro today is so advanced and multiple that I mean it looks different every play out there based on the situation. You got hybrid guys. They're are they down linemen or are they a backer or vice versa? I mean it's all about disguise and trying to confuse the offense on what the form on the front looks like with different guys that can do different things. So I almost feel like to label a defense a 4-2-5 is almost a misnomer. It really means is most times you're going to have 5 defensive backs out there in the day's game, at least 5 defensive backs, and then everybody else there's going to be 6 other guys, and we don't know where they're going to be. They're going to be in any number of combinations and fronts, and most people think the more the better because it's just confusing for the offense. So
next we got Del B and Griff. I want you to comment on this. $5 is saying get the OC out of the booth. Does it really matter where the coordinator is on the field or in the booth, or is that just something we as fans pay attention to?
I don't think so. When I played, we went back and forth over the course of my time in Alabama. The coordinator was on the field. He was in the booth the next year. It just kind of depended on the mix of the coaching staff. And I think each staff has to evaluate, what each position group needs. So, the coordinator is a coordinator, but he's usually responsible for a position. Like Neil Callaway was our offensive coordinator. He was the offensive line coach, or at least he shared the coordinator duties with Charlie Stubbs, and Coach Stubbs was the quarterback coach. And, one year Callaway was in the booth, the next year Charlie was in the booth. And it really depends on what that position group that coordinator is responsible for needs. If that group needs a guy on the sideline, when they come off the field, because you can make adjustments from the booth, but it's not the same as having that coach right there in your face, with a marker board or the video board now or whatever they've got. They've got all kind of technology now that we didn't have. It's really team by team, and then it's year by year based on what the players need. I think that the coordinator probably needs to be in the booth just from a visibility standpoint, his own visibility of what's happening on the field. Because when you're on the sideline, you can't really see what's happening out there from a front situation. Like, you're looking at it from the side, so you can't see 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense and what they're doing like you can when you're in the press box. So if you're the coordinator, I think it's probably more beneficial to have that bird's eye view. And, eventually Neil Callaway moved up to the box, and he did that when we had Will Friend. You guys probably remember Will Friend.
I remember Will Friend.
I played a couple of years with Will. He's gone on to coach all over the SEC. He's a great college coach, good friend of mine. Will came on as a GA early in his coaching career, and when Coach Callaway got Will at his disposal, Will was our guy on the field because he was just an extension of Neil Callaway. So we had the face-to-face on the sideline coaching we needed right there from him, so Coach Callaway could focus on what's happening schematically from a bird's eye view standpoint. I don't know if that answers question.
No, that answers it perfectly, actually, because we as friends don't really understand all of what you just said. We just think we know, and we run with it, and we make comments. But thank you for the super chat, Dale B. Juice Crew $4.99. Deontay Lawson is trash. He's not a great linebacker. I've never seen this guy run full speed in 2 years. All right, let's see. Don Parker's got a question. Will we finally see for sale signs in front of the ice cream man's residence? Thoughts? I don't think we have to answer that one. Okay, Gelato $1.99. Coaching staff failed tie.
Hold up. I think we found the culprit for the brick in the window during the
Bill Curry.
Bill Curry era. Don, were you the brick in the window guy?
Oh man, he was that dude.
We got Ephraim, who's been a member for 4 months. Keep working, keep grinding. It's a long season.
Exactly.
Roll Tide. Jeremy Matthews, $19.99. Bama fans, calm down. It has been a long time since Bama has been in an away game in the first game with a starting quarterback, and it's a whole new system with both teams. We're going to be good.
And let's not downplay Gus Malzahn. He's a good offensive coordinator.
Oh yeah.
And he has had our number in the past, and he has done. This is not the first time he's been able to do this, and that was on anybody that was paying attention leading up to this was talking about this, the potential for this, and so you put Gus with Castellano, which I think is probably the perfect storm for him.
Yeah,
I mean, this isn't that big of a stretch. I mean, I think there's all the things we talked about today. We would have liked to see some different product on the field in terms of effort on some things, but hey man, this isn't a stretch that Gus Malzahn came up with another magic potion to beat Bama. I mean, it's one of his best strong suits.
Now, Griff, with that being said, how do you feel about Hugh Freeze going out and getting Jackson Arnold? Do you feel like it's kind of this? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but do you feel like it's kind of the same situation where he went out and found his type of guy?
Well, if I were him, I would have done that. I mean, you look at the Vandy game last year, like we talked about earlier, and then we had multiple teams copy that. They may not have the exact personnel as Diego Pavia, but Oklahoma, I mean, they took that playbook, and like I said, you can have a really, really good team. Every team's got a kryptonite out there. You can't. No team can be all things to all opponents. I mean, you might be able to do that for 12 games out of the season or 13 games out of the season. But if you get that wrong one on the schedule, like a Georgia State, like I referred to earlier, that ran through this, everybody's got a kryptonite out there. And when they figure out what your kryptonite is, everybody else is going to figure out how to try to mimic it. And
absolutely.
What does Hugh Freeze need more this year than anything? I mean, he needs to win a bunch of ball games, but if he could figure out a way to beat Alabama, it would be a big thing for him. So I'm not surprised.
Alabama or Georgia.
Hey, and to the audience member that told us to go to hell, that hurts my feelings. Trust me, we do. Every other year we go to Auburn for a football game. They make us go to Lee County, which is the second or third gate of hell, which is through all the trailer parks. But that's not nice. Have a blessed day. God bless you.
I agree with that.
It's kind of funny, real quick, before I get to the super chat. Griff, you remember Aries Monroe? When Auburn was recruiting him, he said on the recruiting visit they took him cow tipping.
I think Aries told me the story, as a matter of fact, which if you know Aries, this is pretty hilarious because he may have never seen a cow before.
I don't think he had, but
no, Impalas don't go cow tipping. No.
Gelato $4.99. Seems like Bama wasn't creative on offense. No jet sweep, no misdirection. Bama linebackers was nowhere to be found.
No.
Efron, $2. Good test for Bama. See where they're at as a team. Thank you, Efron. Don Parker, $5. Let's keep it 100. This coaching staff did not have this team ready to play winning football to the standard today. Is this not how last season ended? Juice Crew, 199. We're going to lose to Vandy. I hope not, because that weekend we will be there doing a podcast from the Bryant Museum and a few other things that we're going to reveal a little bit later. Some big things, actually. So let's hope that does not happen. Ron Hollywood, $2. Will this game hurt us with recruits? And this is the last one we'll take before we close up shop. Griff, do you feel like this will hurt us in terms of recruiting, or is this just a blip on the road?
No, I mean, hey, it's one game. I think you saw this year what Coach DeBoer has got going on. I mean, obviously nobody wanted this first game to go this way, but in terms of what he's built in culture there, hey, look at the recruiting class we had. Look at the retention we had from last year's player base. We didn't lose one single guy to the transfer portal. So that tells you right there that the kids believe in what we're doing, okay? And like I said before, just because we've got a good thing going or a positive trend going doesn't mean it's going to be as great as it's going to be today. So, I mean, there's still some lumps to carry and some hills to get over, but he's got to build that squad, from the ground up, from scratch, just like Coach Saban did. We went 6-7 or 7-6 his first year. And let me tell you, all you folks that are out here calling for Kalen DeBoer's head were calling for Nick Saban's head that year too, because I vividly remember it. And, it's just the nature of the beast. And it doesn't ever happen at the pace that, we want it to, or the fans want it to, or the administration wants it to. But I feel like we have the right guy at the helm for the job, and he clearly has a way of connecting with and it's not just Coach DeBoer. I mean, it's our staff that's out there recruiting these kids that the kids are believing in, because you can look the proof's in the pudding this year. Now, just because we had a number one recruiting class this year, whatever we were ranked, we had a great recruiting class. We had great retention, lost 0 kids. That doesn't exactly translate to 14-0 in a national championship, because a lot of those kids aren't even contributors yet, So, I mean, if you're a kid that's going to not commit, not consider Alabama, or decommit from Alabama because they lose the opener to a unexpectedly good FSU team the first week of the season, then we don't want you anyway.
Johnathan, you spend a lot of time with recruits. That's your wheelhouse, and you're doing a lot of big things right now in terms of recruiting. Do you feel like this even registers to these guys? Because you spent a lot of time with some big name guys in this recruiting class, and you've talked to them, you've gotten to know who they are. Does this even register?
No. Look, one of the first things I always say is, number one, mama, grandmother approval, and their approval is based on what? You know what I mean? Like, what are they going to do for my son, right? So in all honesty, it's going to be, do they feel comfortable? Do they feel like this can be a home? Can you develop me? But at the end of the day, will you make my kid into a man at the end of the day, right? Because the parents are passing that kid off to a coach to ultimately grow them up, right? To a certain extent, they're going to be spending a lot of time around this coaching staff. No, and look, all the recruits I've talked to, these games almost play nothing into it, because at the end of the day, these kids know what they want, right? And then the parents know what they want from it. So, and yes, money does play a small factor in this. We are in the NIL era. Come on now. We already know that, Pettey, but it's not all about that. So.
All right. So before I get to another one of his comments that I'm going to actually give to Pettey. Oh, he lost his Wi-Fi. Jay Morris AM, FSU tried to warn you losers, no more Saban cheating.
That's right.
Well, FSU really want to talk about cheating? And let's be honest, everyone is slipping a little something before the NIL era into the hands of recruits. No one was on the up and up.
Free shoes. Hit that like button while you're there, and subscribe.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, while you're enjoying your victory, go get some crab legs. That'd be fantastic. pairs very well. With the,
that was my final thought, and you took my final thought from me.
Griff, apparently Saban was cheating, and no other school was cheating.
Oh, man.
Sorry, I went dead there, guys. I had to scramble for my laptop charger.
You're good, man. All right. Pettey, I'm going to let you take this one right here from Webhead. Ty Simpson is worse than Brody Kroll, and that says a lot.
What?
So
what?
Brody played 7 years in the NFL.
When you put the meth on top of the weed and then hit it, is that what comes to your mind? Like, is that the first thing, or does other stuff come to your mind? Like, Sean Alexander wasn't a good running back, and Brody Kroll wasn't. Ty is worse than Brody, and that says a lot. I don't even know how to do we watch the same football game? Like, do you like?
Oh man,
yeah, Derek Thomas couldn't get to the quarterback either.
In what way was okay? All right, all
yeah,
right.
I really would like to know the answer to that. And
Webhead, do you enjoy your and marijuana's bad, okay?
I don't understand. But
drugs are bad, okay?
I've heard other fans say that Brody was a bad quarterback. In what world? He held Alabama passing records for a gazillion years until we started throwing the ball, and he won a lot. The only problem he had was staying healthy. So I don't understand why there are fans out there that claim he was bad.
The Brody Kroll that got drafted to go to the NFL and play NFL football. That
yeah,
7 years.
Oh, okay.
7 years in the NFL.
Yeah, but hey, I want to be that bad too, so I can get that check that goes. Oh, and here's what we'll definitely get, and then I'll stop. Blake Barnett vibes.
Barnett vibes. That's what you got. I don't think we.
Oh Lord, one game for his first game as a starter, and not. I tell you what, do you want to try out some people who were less experienced? Because
I want to know what these people thought about Arch Manning's performance earlier in the day. I bet he's a bust too. I bet we've chalked him up as a no-go as well, huh?
Hey, you think Ty Simpson's having a bad day? Try being Arch Manning today.
Yeah, try being Arch. He is. Who was literally one tush push and one drop pass from the receiver Wingo from all of a sudden being a hero. Again, Arch is overrated. Okay. Yeah,
this don't give me credit.
I'd also like to have this, some of these folks, their comments after the first quarter,
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, come on, guys.
And let's not give credit to Ohio State's defense. It was absolutely phenomenal. And they took away the passing game. There was no deep pass available whatsoever. How quickly people are to jump to things like that. And Webhead says Simpson ain't no Peyton Manning, not by far. Who is?
Okay. Now we're comparing him to possibly the greatest quarterback of all time. First, he wasn't Brody, and now he's not somebody who is on the Mount Rushmore. Like, what kind of moonshine and drugs are you on tonight, Webhead? Just go ahead and tell us. What are we vibing with? Like, what are we rocking with down in whatever, wherever you're at in the world?
All right, guys, we've been on for a long time. Yeah, Steve Brown lost his bet, $5. Thank you, Don Parker. If you want to know what that bet was, check with us on Tuesday. He may not be there. All right, we've been on here long enough. I think we're just repeating the same thing over and over again. So we'll close up shop. Before we do that, I'm going to go around the room and allow my panel to tell you where they can be found, and we'll let our guests go last. Start out Johnathan, then we'll go down to Pettey, and then Griff will wrap us up.
Just on X, right at J Lewis 85. And are we giving a final thought here or no?
Yeah, each person give their final thought as soon as Griff pays his bill. You can jump back on.
AT&T is coming collect him, bro. So my final thought's going to be Thomas Castellanos only completed 9 passes and he beat Alabama. So we got to get this fixed, guys. Right?
It was funny because people said that Thomas Castellanos, in order for them to win, would have to beat us through the air. and that determined to be a lie.
Yes, for sure.
All right, Pettey, you're up. How can they find you? And then give me your final thought.
X Pettey_Daniel. Look, that's wake up at 11 o'clock. Football's back. 6:30. Life sucks. No, man, it's a long season. Let's not hang it all up yet. Now, look, things go south a few weeks from now. We'll have a different talk, but let's not jump off the cliffs just yet. Let's hold on there. But yeah, man, it was sobering though. Like I said, I said it earlier. It felt like a continuation, not something new. And that I was expecting new, but I do think things can change. I think the pieces are there.
Yeah.
These guys get paid a lot of money to do it. Let's have hope they do. Because, what else we're going to do? We can sit here and bitch or whatever. We got football games to play. I promise the guys are going to go back and work. So let's give them a chance to get this fixed. Support the team. We love Alabama regardless, right? So, let's jump on board regardless of how rocky it may or may not be. But give them a chance, man. I think it's not maybe as bad as we saw today, even though today was very sobering of an outcome. But catch me Tuesday night. I will be there. I can only assume Marvin is in Belize drinking every bit of the tequila that he can afford to drink after he has lost every bet to Peter Warwick and whoever the hell else he bet on the Florida State football programs past. So I'm assuming the first 15 minutes, I'm just going to be sitting on a show Tuesday night watching Marvin Constant scream. So come Tuesday night, hit that like and subscribe. Even you Florida fans that have told us we suck tonight, hit that like and subscribe, because come back Tuesday night if you really want to see a meltdown, because our man Marvin Constant will melt down with the best of them on this Bama defense. I promise.
Yeah.
Griff, Marvin
enjoyed doing this with you tonight, brother. Sorry on the terms.
Yeah, same.
Hey, real quick, thank you, Efron, $2. No team will go undefeated in this era of college football. I can agree with that.
Lemonade,
Griff,
baby.
we greatly appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. Wasn't the outcome we were anticipating when we invited you on, but you still hung with us nonetheless. We greatly appreciate you. Tell folks how they can find you, and if they also want to help out with Red Elephant Club, what they can do to help y'all's cause.
Sure. Yeah. And thanks for having me, guys. I always love doing the show. So appreciate the invite, and I'll always enjoy the interaction. But you can find me on Facebook, Griff Redmill, or you can find me on Instagram or on Twitter at PaperMill75. I'm the president of the Huntsville Red Elephant Club. If you're interested in joining, you can find us on Facebook, Huntsville Red Elephant Club. Interested in joining our club, if you're in the Madison County, Morgan County, Limestone County area, or even Jackson County, we have some Jackson County members. If you're interested in joining our Elephant Club, we support Alabama football athletics and raise scholarship money. One thing I didn't realize when I was a player is that every one of these scholarships are endowed by somebody or some entity or some organization, and that's what the Elephant Clubs have historically done, is endow football scholarships. So it's kind of a neat thing to be a part of, and if you're an Alabama supporter, it's a great organization to be a part of, and we got a great group of members, and we have fantastic speakers, and we'd love to have you if you're interested in joining and up in the level of your support for the Crimson Tide. It's a great organization. And lastly, I would just like to say that nobody's happy today about this, but nobody panic. It's one game. It's the first game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. We got some great people in place, both coaches, players, and the like. And none of them get it right on the first try of the year, first game of the season. There's always ground to make up. And so I guess the tell of the tape is going to be how we respond. Right. And there is every one of the goals this team has had at the beginning of the season are still intact and still attainable. And we'll learn a lot about them over the next coming weeks when we see how they respond. And I would just tell you not to panic, and remember that these coaches are human beings, that they're trying to do the best they can. And if they weren't good at their job, they wouldn't be where they were. These players are kids in most regards. They're trying to do the best they can, and nobody likes to lose worse than them. I know a lot of you may not believe that, but I can promise you nobody wants to win more than them. And so it'll tell us a lot about this team as we see how they respond moving forward. So don't panic yet. Hit the eject button.
Absolutely. And real quick, before we close up shop, we have one more super chat. Travis Park, $1.99. He thinks it's quite humorous, the line going into this game tonight. Understandable. Well, listen, folks, we greatly –
Alabama.
What's that, Pettey?
Not humorous if you had Alabama.
Gambling with mortgage on it. No, I'm just playing.
But anyway, we greatly appreciate everyone coming out tonight and being a part of us the last hour and 46 minutes. And thank you, Juice Crew, for $1.99. Corso knew DeBoer isn't it. I don't know if Lee Corso thought that at all. So we'll just bypass that. But yeah, thank you to everyone who was a part of our chat tonight, who was watching. If you're watching the replay, get in the comment section below. Let us know how you feel. And I expect to get comments from both fan bases. So engagement is a great thing. It actually is what helps us grow as a channel. Keep on doing that. Join us for the Bama Standard Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. Like Pettey said, the first 10 or 15 minutes will be dedicated to Marvin Constant's rant.
Yep.
And then Reuben Foster will add his as well, as he is now a part of our panel. And I'm going to try to get Marquise Mays on because he says he has a lot to talk about. We definitely got to grab that while it's available. But anyway, that'll do it for
this game.
What's that?
There'll be a line of people wanting to rant after this game.
You might want to have some support lined up for Marvin. I'm just giving you a heads up.
We need to GoFundMe therapy work.
But yes, folks, again, thank you. That'll do it for all of us. We will see you next week. And regardless of what happened today, roll tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.